Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of Office Hours presented by TopResume, the largest resume writing service in the world. You can request a free critique at any time by going to topresume.com. And don't forget to enter our monthly resume makeover contest at any time by going to topresume.com/resume-makeover. I'm your host, Amanda Augustine, and I am a certified professional career coach and resume writer. And my passion is helping people find and land the job faster. I'm incredibly excited today about our topic. It is called How to Network to Get Work. And I am joined by a very special guest, which I hope you will help me say hello to. We are joined by Chief Networking Officer and co-founder of Fireball Network, Deena Baikowitz. I just want to tell you a little bit about Deena before we start. Deena Fireball Baikowitz is a dynamic business and career coach, workshop facilitator, and professional speaker. Deena is a branding and marketing expert, and she guides her clients in articulating and presenting their unique stories to become, their unique stories to the marketplace. She works with people across all industries, helping them become confident networkers and access hot new career and business opportunities. Outside of work, you'll find Deena planning parties, talking to strangers, in dance classes, and flying on the trapeze. You can sign up for her Fireball Networking mailing list, and you can find all of her social media contacts to connect to by going to her website, fireballnetwork.com. I'm incredibly excited to announce her. I hope you'll give her a warm welcome as well. Deena Baikowitz. She's coming on in 3, 2, 1. Deena, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Amanda. You're very welcome.
So everybody, I want to remind you before we get started that if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to leave your questions in the comments section below. And my lovely colleague Jenna will let us know when a question pops up that's relevant to what we're talking about in the moment so we can answer it as we're discussing. Or if it makes more sense, she'll leave some for the end because our goal is to leave a nice chunk of time so that we can focus on doing some really good Q&A with everybody who's out there. If you've just joined us, my name is Amanda Augustine. I'm the career advice expert for TopResume, the largest resume writing service in the world. You can request a free critique at any time by going to topresume.com. And I am joined by networking expert Deena Baikowitz to talk about how to network to get work. Now, Deena, we talk about this all the time. Everyone says, networking is so important. And we know it's important at absolutely every stage of the job search of your career development. But it takes on kind of an extra special importance when you're looking for work. I have some stats I want to share with everyone, and I know we've talked about this before, but 2 independent studies have come back and said you're 10 times more likely to land the job when your application is accompanied by an employee referral. You don't get those without networking. Mm-hmm. There's another stat out there that says that 50% of job opportunities that are available will never be published online. So if you're not networking, you're never going to find out about those. I'd love to get in your words, Deena, the importance of networking, particularly for the job search, and how else can networking help you throughout the job search process beyond just finding out about job leads and getting some referrals?
Right. And I'd like to start, as we discussed, to truly define what networking is.
Sure.
And a lot of people, networking has a bit of an icky connotation, or they're scared of it, or it's pressure. But think of it this way. Networking is about building relationships, finding friends, meeting people who can help you, getting advice, learning. So I want to make sure that everybody here in the audience and in the marketplace understands that networking is critical, and it can also be truly enjoyable. And I'm not just saying that because I am a networking coach and a networking expert, and I love nothing more than going into a room with 5,000 people that I don't know and meeting them. Because my approach is, here's 5,000 new opportunities, or 25,000 new opportunities. It's new things I can learn, expand my perspective, exposure to people who don't know me. And in turn, people that I have the opportunity to help. So networking is truly a give and take, and it's an ask and an offer and a give and a get. That being said, when you're looking for a job, yes, networking is critical. I know you said that 50% of jobs are not posted online, which means 50% are. And yet, whether or not they're posted online, getting in the door, finding out the best leads, and accessing your dream job for your skills and your interests is going to be done through the people that you know and the people who know you. So networking isn't just, hi, I want to have a conversation. Hi, I'm looking for a job. Do you have a lead? It's exposure. It is branding yourself in your marketplace, not just as someone who's looking for a job, but as someone who is a professional who's looking for their next opportunity. And here's the most important thing of all, and I really believe in reframing a lot of our common misconceptions. It's not, ooh, I need to get a job, so I'm asking you for something. It's, I have this value and this talent, skill set, and experience to offer to the right company. What a lucky company and a lucky team is going to get me on board with them to help them grow and succeed. So that's the way I want people to think of it.
I think that's I love that point, because people think of networking, and a lot of people, I get it, it's not their favorite thing to do. Not everybody's a fireball Deena. Not everybody's a chatterbox like Amanda. And I understand that. And to be honest, I have to psych myself up for networking events. And I don't think everyone understands that, right? But that it shouldn't be thought of in this framework of, I'm networking because I have to get a job, but I should be networking throughout the career journey. And even when I'm networking for a job, it's to promote my brand as a professional. And I think that's so important. And particularly, and I know we've talked about this before, if you ever decide you want to go into business for yourself, or you want to change careers and go a different direction, that network becomes that much more valuable for gathering intel and helping guide that. So I think that's a great way to think about it. Something else you mentioned is that, there are these icky feelings around networking. There are these thoughts of, I don't enjoy this. It's not fun for me. But I also think a lot of people are walking around with this misconception that networking is hitting a connection request on LinkedIn, or networking is the polar opposite, attending your traditional cocktail party. And I think that's a big myth we need to bust today. I know you have some thoughts on that, but where else? What else can you be doing? What are all those different opportunities you could explore so that you're not trapped between connect with me or, oh, I'm at a cocktail party?
Right. And that is one of the most common and most popular questions that I get is, where do I network? Where do I meet the people that I need to meet? And if we go back to what is your goal, and the goal is, number one, finding a job. Part and parcel of that goal is building connections, getting exposure, letting people know who you are is part of looking for a job. So LinkedIn, while it's useful to support your networking, to exchange information, to establish a point of reference, to do research, all of these elements are part of it. So LinkedIn is one place, but it's online. A cocktail party is great. It's in person. Here are all the other places people can go to build relationships, to let people know who they are and what they do. Conferences, right? And I don't want to lump cocktail party networking events in with conferences. Conferences are, of course, networking opportunities, and there's a networking component to them. They're also educational. They're learning experiences. And that makes it easier than just, hi, here's my business card, I'm going to the bar, right? Conferences, instead of cocktail parties, give you the opportunity to talk about your subject matter expertise, to talk to people in your industry about the industry. So take the focus off of, I need a job, and put the focus onto, I'm an expert in this topic. What did you think of that speaker? Or I published a white paper on XYZ topic. I'm really interested in hearing the panel this afternoon who's talking about the analysis of that data, right? So conferences, classes. I take art classes, not for my business, but because I love art and I've taken art classes in the past. I like cartooning and sketching and painting. My art classes did turn into a business opportunity because I sketched out a brochure for a client of mine. And he said, I want that as my brochure. This is a lawyer we're talking about. He now has a hand-drawn brochure/resume. Okay. And I met a whole bunch of new people in the arts world and in the corporate world through my art classes. So I would say to your audience, what do you do for fun? Do you run marathons? Do you go to the gym? Do you take dance classes? I've met tons of amazing women and men at the gym in dance class that have turned into business and personal social opportunities. Mm-hmm. Also, volunteering is really, really important for a couple of reasons. One, volunteering gives you a chance to use your skills, not only to use them to make yourself feel confident and good about yourself, but also to let others know what you have to offer. Volunteering is also a great way to give back, right? For someone who's looking for a job, it can often feel like we're constantly asking and asking. Volunteering gives you that opportunity to take the other role. Volunteering can be something like Habitat for Humanity or Boys and Girls Club. It can also be sitting on committees and taking professional roles, getting onto boards.
Involvement.
Want me to keep going?
I want to interject with a few things because I 100% agree. Shocker there. You're all going to learn very quickly. And for those who just joined us, my name's Amanda Augustine. I'm the career advice expert for TopResume, the largest resume writing service in the world. You can check out our site and request a free critique at topresume.com. And I'm joined by Fireball Network's Chief Networking Officer and networking expert, of course, co-founder, Deena Baikowitz. We're here talking about networking. How do you make it fun? How do you make sure you're not just hitting LinkedIn and you're not just attending cocktail parties and all the opportunities in between? I think everyone will find as you listen to us, we actually share a lot of similar opinions when it comes to networking. Deena definitely has a deeper knowledge than I do, and I think she's really great at helping people on the fly come up with their personal story and introduction. But I wanted to go back because Deena mentioned a few things that I think are really important. So for instance, the trade shows and conferences, if you don't know where to go for those things, a simple Google search will always help you. Right. 2, talk to those who you work with above, below, around you and see what they're doing. But 3, there's a really great site. It's called 10times.com, 10times.com. And it's called 10 times because you're 10 times more likely to land a job when your application is accompanied by a referral. That's their branded business. But it's a directory of every and any business conference, trade show, global by location as well as by subject matter. So that's a great source. The other thing that I love that Deena was talking about was taking classes, whether it's for fun or to improve your skills for work. We know there's a million of those out there. Obviously, face-to-face is going to be a little bit more beneficial. But if you are looking for some courses to improve certain skill sets in a face-to-face environment, CourseHorse.com is a great resource. General Assembly, depending on where you live, can be very beneficial. So I recommend checking those out. And of course, check and see what your community offers. If you're looking for something other than, a class that taps into a different part of your life, which I think is so great. The last thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that Deena was talking about volunteering, and I 100% agree. I love the volunteering angle, and I think you could take it either direction. Find a charity that you really love and means something to you, because the bonds you make there are going to be amazing because you share such a common interest and such a common bond. That's why taking personal interest from a charity perspective or charitable perspective or, class-wise is so helpful. If you're looking for something where you're also trying to maybe pad your resume because maybe you've been unemployed for a little bit, I do recommend checking out skill-based volunteering opportunities. And there's a great site called Catch a Fire. you can go to that site and say, this is the skill set I possess. I'm looking for a worthy cause that I could donate my services to. So what a great way to promote your brand and your expertise as well as giving back. So think about those in some of the tools you can use to take advantage of all the great opportunities that Deena's been mentioning. And Deena, the one thing I love that you brought up right away is that it doesn't have to even be in your industry or your field.
Do something fun.
And I also love, we're talking about organized events and organized things where there's there's an intention to network, but you are the queen of making connections everywhere you go. And I think that's so important that if we can, pull our eyes away from our phone and look up when we're out, it's amazing the different connections we can make in line for Starbucks or, when you're waiting to pick up your laundry. I know you have some great anecdotes. Would you like to share one of your favorites?
Yes, I would actually. And I would like to add, right? I mean, as a city girl, I don't stand in line to pick up my dry cleaning. I have it delivered.
Touche. But Suburbia.
That's the thing, right? When I lived in the suburbs, I met so many people through local events and all the local stores. I used to have a coffee shop that I would go to for meetings or to get work done. And that became a hub for anyone in business in that community. We ended up starting a networking group. And there were business owners and people looking for work and freelancers and some women who wanted to consider re-entering the job market, people in career transition. So that's another thing I would say to people is start your own group. I'm launching a book club purely for fun, but it is mostly my clients and my friends because my friends are my clients and my clients are my friends. And as you know, anybody who becomes part of the Fireball network becomes part of that incredible group of people that do overlap the personal and the professional. And it makes your life so much richer and it brings you better opportunities. So it is about the people you know and the people who know you. And I would say also to all of your listeners, think about, without running around to a million different networking events and cocktail parties and conferences and classes, first look at the people you already know. Take a blank piece of paper and start writing down who is in your circles. And I gave this advice to a woman this morning where she said, I'm busy with my family, and I'm busy with my kids, and I'm busy with work. I don't know where to meet people. And I said, well, when you're busy with your kids, you're meeting other parents, right? Yeah. Like, network with them. Oh, I never thought it. Like sometimes the things that are most in front of our face, we don't notice. Yeah. So I would say also alumni.
Yes.
Where did you go to school, right? And some of us are closer or further away from college or graduate or postgraduate work. But those connections can last forever. I'm still in touch with people I went to high school with and have gotten business opportunities out of them years later. So I would say look at alumni groups, and not only your own. Like I could ask you, Amanda, I could say, can you connect me with your alumni group? Or you could say, you know what, I'm interested in connecting with people from Montreal or Canada. I'm from Montreal. I went to McGill. I have a whole network in Montreal and in Toronto and throughout Canada for that matter. I also have my New York University. I went to NYU for graduate studies and I launched the Women's Real Estate Network at NYU. So I have that network as well. So I would tell people to do that.
I think there's a really great thing that you brought up. So there's a great stat. There's a group called Alumni Fire. And I recommend people checking out Alumni Fire because if you're not in touch with people from your alma mater, this is a great way to get in touch with them. Alumni Fire was built for people who want to help fellow alums. You have to hit a certain number of people from your school, in it, registered. And when it hits a certain, max, or minimum number, it opens up and people can say, I want to be a mentor. I am willing to help people. I want to share my skills. And it allows people to connect. But what I love about Alumni Fire is they did some study and they found that 90% of hiring managers would prefer to hire a fellow alum if given the opportunity. But it just doesn't happen as often. I think it happens maybe 4% of the time or something like that. And that's just because we're failing to leverage such an important built-in network that universities are trying so hard to cultivate. So I think that's an incredibly important one. And then the one thing I love that you can talk to your family in a productive way when it comes to your job search. You can't just say, I need help or I'm looking for a job. It has to be more specific, but you don't know who in your family might be able to help you. In addition to whatever activities you're doing or commitments you have for your family, there may be opportunities to network with other people.
Right.
The same thing goes at work. People think you have to work or you have to network when you're not at your 9-to-5 job, and that's not true. Unless you are like a one-woman show, chances are you can develop a greater relationship with somebody else in the company other than your direct team. And that's
absolutely. Yeah. And for me, right, I run Fireball Network. I collaborate with a lot of people. So while I may not have 100 coworkers directly beside me, everywhere I go, I connect with people. And I would add to that, regardless of the size of the company you're in or that you want to get into, professional associations. So, for example, I've been a member of Commercial Real Estate Women since about 2003, 2004. I have sat on every committee from marketing, communications, sponsorship, programming. I was asked onto the board a few years ago and took the role, of course, and took on the role of helping to launch our Young Leaders Group, because those are my skill sets. So people knew where I could be valuable. What I do within the commercial real estate industry, I'm not an architect, I'm not a contractor and engineer, but I work with architects, contractors, engineers, lawyers on marketing, business development, branding, networking skills, presentation skills.
So I think that's important that you can get into a professional association, and even though it may not be your bread and butter, if there's a way for you to join, there may be a way to leverage your skill set and find a way to promote your area of expertise.
And for me, that became one of my strongest networks, and I've built most of my client base and my friends through women and men in the commercial real estate and related industries. And then I took that formula, and that's what I want everyone else here to know, that you can apply this, whatever you do, whoever you are. It's a pretty simple formula. Where do you want to go in terms of your job? What are the types of roles that interest you? What are your superpowers? And what industry sectors? Go to that sector. Find out which are the top organizations. Reach out to leadership. It's one thing to walk into an event where you don't know everybody or where you don't know anyone. That can be scary for anyone but me. I love it. But I also will contact event organizers or board members or presidents to say, hey, I'm interested in this sector. I'm interested in your organization. What can you tell me about it? And then what inevitably happens is, come to this event, come to our summit. I'd love to meet you. I'll introduce you around. I'll make connections. What do you need? So whether you're looking for a job or clients, this is the way to do it, is to ask for what you want. Be honest with people and be specific and be direct. And then offer, how can I help in return? What can I do for your membership?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, is that when you're going to go to something, don't get in the mindset that when you're in a job search and you're tapping into a network, it's all about you're begging for favors and you're being a burden to everybody, because really the goal is that you're having conversations, you're learning about other people, and you're looking for opportunities to pay it forward. Whether you've learned a lot about the industry while you've been job searching, and so you can pass those nuggets of information along, or there may be someone in your personal network that you can offer up, or even a hotel recommendation. There are lots of ways where you can find opportunities to give back. And so it's not necessarily you just taking from people. We could talk about this forever, but I want to make sure we have time for questions. So there was an important thing, and I think you were getting into it right there, about when there's so many different opportunities out there and you're trying to figure out what to attend, what not to attend, where to invest your energy, because networking is an investment. It's an investment in time. And it sounds like what I'm hearing is that it all starts with, what are your goals at the moment, to then identify who new you should be reaching out to and what new and types of events should you gravitate towards. I think there's also a personality thing there. Like, obviously, if you're more introverted, you probably want to start with smaller things if that's going to make you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. So to answer your question, partly your personality, your schedule, your preferences. If you are an introvert and big events are not comfortable for you, start with the one-on-one. Reach out to someone in your company, in your industry, a friend of a friend, to say, I'd love to grab coffee for 20 minutes. Everyone has time for 20 minutes. It's nice to invite someone to lunch or dinner, but the odds are they're not going to want to give up a lunch or a dinner necessarily. I mean, depending on the relationship. But generally, I found if you offer to meet someone at their office for 20 minutes, they will say yes. Or even a phone call. I have landed such incredible business opportunities, which are for me career opportunities, by asking somebody for 10 minutes of their time on the phone.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Because
And
there's such a low investment level from the other person that if you really don't know them, 10 minutes over the phone, how much is that really to ask for? A lunch, a dinner, even a coffee date takes more time because there's travel involved. But 10 minutes over the phone, they could be in the car. They could talk to you.
I can get into specifics if you'd like to give people those guidelines on how to ask.
Yeah, if you can give a quick sample, I want to be cognizant of time because we haven't gotten to the meat, which is how to work a room. And I think that's what a lot of people are after. So if you have like the 30-second version, let's go for it. If not, we can provide for it.
And here's the thing also to consider, right? Because we're talking about all the different type of networking events. So how to work a room is not just how to work the room at a cocktail party. It's not just how to work the room at a conference, right? We started by saying networking is so much more than that.
Yes.
So the same, again, I mean, I say the rules apply generally to any situation you're in. One of my examples is I reached out to a woman on Facebook because she was speaking at a conference, at a women's conference, and I wanted to speak at that conference. And I said to her, you don't know me, but here's who we have in common. So I established that relationship, like an alumni relationship or something like that. So here's who we have in common. I would like 10 minutes of your time on the phone. So I told her right away what I was asking for. And I said, and here's why. I want to find out about this conference, speaking opportunities. And there were a few other questions, but it was very specific and very short. She says, of course, I have time for 10 minutes. That 10-minute phone call led to a workshop, a client, a podcast, a video on Forbes. If you check out Carrie Kirpin, Likeable Media, that woman was Carrie Kirpin. And so I have been featured on all the Social Ladies podcast. She interviewed me on camera. It's on Forbes Women. I am in her book, Work It, Secrets from the Boldest Women in Business. One 10-minute phone call led to a relationship. Okay?
So when you're only looking to just find out about a job opportunity, or you're considering a new career track, or you found the job, it's at that company, but you want to see if it's a good cultural fit, 10 minutes could lead to so many wonderful things when it comes to your job search. You just have to have the courage to, excuse my language, but suck it up, get the courage and write the email. And I think it's okay to fail, right? You're not going to learn if you don't just try it. And I think that's where people get so nervous because, first impressions are everything and blah, blah, blah. But, sometimes you just got to fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
And
you don't have to fake it either. Because I would say, it took me a good 20 minutes to write a Facebook message that was all of 5 sentences long. So preparing that email is really important. Just as you're only asking for 10 minutes of someone's time, don't send them 3 paragraphs in an email. Who are you? What do you want? Why do you want it? And, the one-line executive summary of who you are will help. And that's the same thing for a cocktail party, right?
I think that's really important to think about is that it's all marketing, right? When you become a job seeker, you become a marketer, and you are marketing the most valuable asset you're ever going to have. It's your candidacy. And so thinking about every email you send is like a marketing email. And so if you follow the same principles that marketers follow in terms of marketers tend to not send novels. Why? The average person won't read it. Subject lines are catchy or very, very specific and clear, so you know what you're getting into and you know how to prioritize that message. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. If you've just joined us, my name is Amanda Augustine, career advice expert for TopResume, the largest resume writing service in the world. And I'm joined by networking expert Deena Baikowitz, and we're here to talk about how to network to get work. Now we're going to get into the meat of it because this is really where I think Deena shines. She runs entire workshops on this. You can sign up to be one of her clients and she will help you through this process, which I know for some people is really overwhelming and scary at times, but it's this idea of how to work a room. And I kind of want to break it down into a few spots. Excuse me, I'm going to look at my notes now because I made a few notes for Deena.
Yeah, the same notes.
I'd love for you to walk us through some of your favorite tips for attending any type of event, not just a cocktail event, but let's start with preparation. What should you do before an event to not only calm nerves, but also just make sure you're set up for success when you get there?
Great. Preparation is so important. Where are you going? What is the event? Check out who are the speakers, who is the conference organizer, who are the attendees. If you can find that out, is really ideal. If you're not like me and Amanda, where we can pretty much talk to anybody, anywhere, at any time about anything, and not everyone can do that, you do want to prepare your pitch. And I won't call it an elevator pitch yet, but that is in general. How do you present yourself, right? How are you marketing your brand? And as you said, when you're searching for a job, you are marketing. You're also marketing yourself throughout your career. Your professional brand does not change based on what job you're in. Your roles and your responsibilities may change, but you are not your resume. You are more than your resume. Yeah. So and here's the preparation, coming up with the stories to tell about your career, about your life. And it can be something as simple as, what did you do last weekend? And I'll give you a really quick example. I went through this exercise with a client of mine. They were going to a big industry conference. They wanted to know how to make conversation beyond talking about their project. What did you do last weekend? I went hiking with my family. Okay, that's a good start. I have the word hiking. Where do you go hiking? What state? What area? What time of year? Who is in your family? Well, my boys. Okay, how old are your boys? How many boys do you have? So that one statement of, I go hiking with my family, became, my kids are, let's say, 11 and 13. My boys, they really love the outdoors. We have this incredible trail out in XYZ neighborhood where we live. I now have 3, 4, 5 different topics that I can talk to you about and build a connection. I don't have boys. I don't go hiking, but I found it interesting enough to keep that conversation going and to say, I don't go hiking, but here's what I do on the weekends. Or a friend of mine goes hiking, I should connect you. You may be able to share hiking resources.
Cool. Yeah.
Right. But the point is, when you go somewhere, think of your first thing to do to prepare is attitude. Know that you're going to build connections. You're not going to land a job on the spot in a 3-minute conversation, whether you're in a class or a conference or a cocktail party.
Amen.
You're starting to build. So connecting with someone, preparing other topics of conversation, as we talked about based on the event. Questions to ask people. I have lots of articles on my website of icebreakers, conversation starters. And I put them into 3 categories. Personal, like we talked about hiking. Professional could be not just what do you do, but how did you get interested in your industry? What are the trends in your industry? What are the challenges? Contextual, so art class, for example, when I go to art class or dance class, and people have said to me, were you a professional dancer? And I like to joke, yeah, I was a Rockette, but they kicked me out for throwing off the line because I'm really funny. I have friends
who make the height limit.
I have friends who are professional Rockettes and clients who worked with Rockettes. But it's that starting point of, I love dance. I've loved dance my whole life. I worked in theater. I marketed Broadway shows. So anything that interests you, quite frankly, you can talk about a movie. You can talk about your favorite restaurant or your favorite recipe or a really cool blog or a great podcast that you're listening to. So that preparation of content, so you have things to talk about, and especially for introverts. Now, here's the trick. You've prepared questions to ask other people. Make sure you have answers, because it's not just ask someone 20 questions and then they're like, oh my God, you're grilling me. It's a back and forth. So have the questions to ask and also have the answers from your own life to share and build on that.
I think that there are a lot of things there that I really loved. The one is that you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to hide your personality. In fact, your personality is one of your best assets, right? So the more you know you and what you like and what you don't like, the better off you'll be. You do not have to stick with the standard. So what did you do? And what I really love that you brought up is that, and this is advice I give people, is that you have, 2 ears and 1 mouth, follow the ratio accordingly. But that doesn't mean you show up with a list of questions and you say nothing. I was actually watching a show recently, and I'm not going to get into all the details, but it's a guy who's in the FBI for a living, and he had to do small talk at like a speed dating thing for undercover. And his wife was like, remember, it's a conversation, not an interrogation. And he prepared all these questions, and it was an awful, awful conversation because he's like, where are you from? And they'd be like, Cleveland. So how's Cleveland? It doesn't work. And I think what you brought up is so great is that, yes, you want kind of a stockpile of questions. You want a stockpile of stories that you can tell, but be ready to practice riffing and asking questions based on what they're saying. You can't just, quick fire questions at someone.
And really listen to what they're saying, because people are so nervous about what to say next.
Yeah.
That they're thinking, and
they're thinking and not paying attention.
Right? Like you and I can talk over each other, and it's a good thing because it means we're listening to each other. And we're like, oh yeah, and this too, and this too. So truly take that stress away, do some breathing, do some mindful meditation, and walk in with that openness. Now, there's also, of course, a limit to how much you want to talk to one person. If you'd like me to continue to talk about how to work a room. Would you like me to get into this?
I'd love for you to get into the part about, so for those people who are introverted, and I would assume for a lot of people, if you're tuning into this, if you feel that you're a natural butterfly, there may be some things you could be doing better and to become a more efficient networker, but you're probably, my guess would be the majority of the people tuning in, it's because this is an uncomfortable topic, but they know they gotta get better at the skill. So beyond prepping, when you're in the room and you're feeling nervous, are there some techniques to help you? If you're afraid to just walk up to a big group talking, are there any techniques you can try, or ways where it's maybe smaller places where you can start conversations where it's a little less intimidating to kind of get your feet wet and feel better in those situations?
That's a great point. So practicing ahead of time, definitely. I mean, you can practice at home. You can practice in front of a mirror, record yourself on camera to get used to that. Practice with friends. In my workshops, of course, as a networking coach, I put the most introverted people up on stage, and we do an improv style mock networking event. You are at, give me the name of an event, give me a role. Who are you? What do you do? And we'll have them, and it's scary and people sweat it out. You know what happens most of all? People start laughing, not at the people, but with the people. The humor comes out, everyone connects, there's a lot of applause. So practicing your conversation skills. Start where it's easy, practice with your friends. Going to networking events is truly critical. The more you do, the better you'll get at it, as long as you follow the advice that we're giving you, of course. I know as a networking coach, I offer wing woman services. And there's lots of articles and podcasts, but really putting your skills in place and using them, getting feedback. Go with the friend who can offer you some constructive feedback after the fact. Obviously, you don't want to stick with that friend the whole time. Introverts and extroverts make great teams. So if you are a total introvert, go with an extrovert. I'm an extrovert. I will never, ever leave an introvert hanging alone by themselves. Yeah. I am compelled to help people network, even if they're not my clients. If I see someone by themselves at an event, and that's another thing that anybody can do. You see somebody standing by themselves in a corner on their phone or looking around just as scared as you are, be the first person to walk up and say, hi, my name is, what brought you here today? How did you hear about, I have a mug that says, whoever smiles first wins. So
I like that. I like that. And I think that's a really good one, because when you attend an event, you shouldn't assume you're the only one who's uncomfortable or this isn't their cup of tea.
We're all the same.
if you work the edges, I was always taught work the edges. If you're uncomfortable, chances are the other people who are uncomfortable kind of stay to the edges too, because they're not the ones that gravitate into the big conversations. And I don't want to say they're easier to pick up, but they're easier to introduce yourself. And it's okay to say, have you done this before? Yeah, I'm a little nervous too, because you can bond over the fact that this makes you nervous. Say, you know what, let's pow together and we'll walk around. And, you be the one, but you're both probably feeling just as vulnerable and nervous, but together it will be so much better.
It's the version of come here often, right?
Yes.
Or like, what's your sign is, what are you doing here? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Like,
you're like me. You're like, okay, great.
So many ways to connect. I'll give you one really quick example. I tell this story in all my workshops because people love it. I was at my very first hotel conference. I needed to break into the hotel market for my employer. How did I find out which conferences to go to? I asked my network, which are the right hotel conferences for me. So I got advice from my network. Went to this conference. I didn't know anybody there. And there was a group of people just standing around laughing. They looked like they were having such a great time. It must have been 6 or 7 guys. And I just stood on the outskirts. I just looked at them and I smiled. And I said to myself, I'm going to break into that group. And I was sort of thinking, what am I going to say? And I was thinking along the lines of, you guys look like you're having so much fun. Can I join you? And just as I was about to say it, the circle opened up and the gentleman who seemed to be sort of the group leader puts his arm out and says, come join us.
Yeah.
Introduced me to everybody. And those became my advisors and my friends and and I said to them, this is my first time at this conference. Who do I need to know? What do I need to know about the conference? And those relationships built. Another time, another conference, also first time at this particular event, didn't know anybody, 5,000 people. I was nervous because it was actually for one of my very first jobs. And so, even for the best networkers, there's situations that are a little scary. So here's a trick. Go to the bar, go to the buffet line. People are standing in line.
Bathroom line. I've done that.
Yeah, I landed a job interview in the ladies' room once. In mirror, not stalls, but
yes, yeah.
Right, talk about lipstick colors, talk about hair, whatever. I landed a job interview in 2 minutes. Yeah. So here's what I did at the buffet line. I was just looking at the people around and I looked at the guy and pay attention, people. Pay attention to what's going on. I looked at him and I sort of did a double take and I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, excuse me, I'm sure you hear this a lot, but you look a lot like Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
And he burst out laughing. And he says, well, I'm not, but he introduces myself. And I said, my name is Deena Baikowitz. This is my first time at this event. What do I need to know? And he proceeded to introduce me to everybody. And the way he introduced me, he says, you have got to meet Deena Baikowitz. She is the best networker. Listen to what she said to me standing in line at the buffet. She thinks I'm Robert De Niro. And we would send emails back and forth to each other. Dear Robert, love Bobby, all in jest.
I love it.
That built that relationship.
And I love that in a number of those opportunities, it was your icebreaker was looking at somebody who clearly seemed comfortable and this wasn't their first rodeo, and just being honest and saying, I'm new to this. Have you been to this before? Is there anything I need to know? And it was really asking for help. And I think even that's with when you're reaching out and you're asking for informational interviews, if you're cold calling, cold emailing somebody because you're trying to break into an industry, asking someone for their pearls of advice and their wisdom, asking them to reflect on their own careers. Most people enjoy that. And most people want to do good and want to help. And that's such a great way. And it shouldn't feel like begging. You're not begging for a job. You're begging for intel. You're begging because you want to learn something. And that's the key. That's the difference. Going in and saying, I want a job. What can you do for me? Is never going to work. It's not the right approach. But I think you had such a great point. I hate to say it, but we got to go to questions because we are out of time. I know there were a couple questions out there. Somebody wanted to know about when you get stuck with somebody and you don't want to talk to them anymore. I believe that was Jennifer asked that question from LA. Deena.
Yes.
Yes, it's great when you get into the conversation. What happens when you need to get out? What's the polite way? And how long do you think you should spend talking to somebody?
You don't want 20 minutes. You don't want to be stuck with just one person at a cocktail party. On the other hand, if it's a really great conversation and the two of you are hitting it off, you have to decide for yourself. If a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. If this conversation is going great, stick with it. One great quality contact and event is enough. At the same time, if you get stuck, be polite. And my golden rule is network unto others as you would have them network unto you, which means be a human being, right? You wouldn't want somebody saying to you, oh, I got to go talk to somebody more important over there, right? Or turning their back on you. So you can say, excuse me, I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for your time. May I get your contact information? May I give you my business card? I'm sure there's other people you want to meet. You can say, I'd like to go work the room now, or I want to go meet the speaker. That's always cool to say. I really want to meet this speaker. Would you mind if we, ended this conversation now? We can take it back up. No, here's the key. It isn't just one conversation, right? That conversation is the first step. So you want to exchange contact information. Say, I would like to follow up with you. May I reach out to you on LinkedIn? Can we schedule 15 minutes for coffee at your office, right? You can even ask someone, do you prefer to meet for breakfast or for coffee? Yeah. Giving options. Another way to end a conversation is to offer something of value and say, I really appreciated the advice you've given me or your offer to connect me. I would like to be of help to you in return.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm looking at one here, and Jenna, then I'll let you jump in, but I can also see them reeling. This is great, guys. I didn't realize it, but I can actually see the questions popping in. I'm seeing Riel's, where it says, if you meet someone who's very established in the industry you want to get into, how do you ask if he or she would be your mentor? I definitely have some thoughts on that. I mean, I'll just spit something out, and then Deena, I'll let you take it as well. But if you find someone that you really want to be your mentor, my typical approach is you're not asking for that right away. That a mentorship relationship has to be built over time. So it may be more of you're asking for an informational interview, which is one of my absolute favorite techniques, particularly when you're new to the workforce or you're changing careers or you're looking to do something different. Finding people in your desired industry, the first step is saying, I would love if I could sit down, pick your brain, learn more about how you got to where you are, and use that conversation as an opportunity to talk about yourself and your skill set, but also learn what you need to do, who you need to be talking to, what publication should you be following, what skills should you be trying to build, even what job you should be targeting to ultimately get to that level. Start with that simple request where it's, a 10-minute phone call, a 20-minute coffee date, something like that. And those relationships, unless it's something formal that a company's put in place, they tend to kind of organically evolve over time.
Exactly.
Is that your take?
I would say you don't ask for a mentor on the spot for someone you just met. You can ask for advice. You can ask for an information interview. You can ask to get together. And mentoring is more when you're in your career. So right. If we want to focus on the job search, I would say, and you and I can both cover that separately. Obviously, I work with my clients on that. You work with your clients on how to develop those relationships. And but I would say we could move on. What are some of the other burning questions for Fireball? You're in the Fireball hot seat. Tell me what you want to know.
So I have one from Elham who says, is social media also considered, good networking spots?
Oh,
and I think we see this a lot. It's, there's this, we know social media is somehow involved in networking, but there is some confusion over what constitutes networking, what doesn't. How do you leverage social media to support your networking activities? Is kind of how I'd phrase it. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So social media is another way to connect with people, right? Twitter is a little bit more like a cocktail party. Facebook is more like a friend's birthday party. LinkedIn is a professional conference. It is a way to connect with people on different levels. So I like to tweet and retweet and comment on the topics that matter to me and that matter to my brand. And those topics can range from Broadway to women's networks to training and coaching, business development, networking. And there's a group that was working with getting women onto board positions. And that's also critical for networking. And I liked their tweet and I retweeted it. And they reached out to me and said, we would love to invite you to this event that we're hosting, an open house. It's by invitation only. Can you send us your email address? And I said, sure. And I invited my clients and some women that I'd met that day at a conference. And I said, how did this happen? She says, well, we always like to see who's tweeting and retweeting us. And we checked you out and we thought, oh, this is a cool woman. She's connected. She believes in the same things we believe in. We want to meet her. So taking, like my Facebook story as well, taking a conversation on Twitter, taking a conversation on Facebook, and turning it into a real live email, getting together.
Taking it to the next stage.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. I 100% agree. I think the one thing though, I'm hearing loud and clear is your social media channels need to support the brand you represent as a professional. Absolutely. And you can use those social media channels only if you're prepared to audit them and say, okay, is this something that I want potential employers, potential clients seeing, and does it represent who I am? Because that's going to make a big difference in how your activities are viewed on those. Same thing. I use LinkedIn. I think is such a great research tool. And I think the groups are, they're hit or miss. They used to be really popular. I think they're kind of like, I sign up for them to show where I am. I like to post a message here or there, but I don't use them like I did a couple of years ago or even a few years ago. But the one thing I found on Twitter is that particularly for what I do, I'm always looking for other people who are, in the same industry and talking about these things. And I used to call them my Twitter friends. These are people that I'd never met in person, but we were sharing each other's content on our channels and we were complimenting one each other, or I'd read something someone wrote and be like, that's great. I love this point. And it was more like the icebreaker, the conversation starter, but it doesn't go beyond that unless you take it to an email or to a face-to-face. I actually was looking into I went to an event that really wasn't for me, but I wanted to see the speakers because they were similar to me. And that's what I was interested in at this event for FindSpark, which is more for millennial or, recent college grads in the creative fields. And I went specifically because one of my Twitter friends was one of the presenters and I wanted to just meet him in person. So I'd say use social media to start conversations or to identify people, but ultimately you're moving it to another platform.
Right. Like my Facebook story with Carrie Kirpin, that one 10-minute, a quick ask for a 10-minute phone call led to so many different opportunities. The same way, going to the event last night because they found me on Twitter because they liked what I had to say and who I was interacting with. And I would tell your audience, I think that my brand reflects who I am personally, what the company is professionally. So follow me, Fireball Network, Fireball Deena. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And I welcome comments and conversations that way. And what I would say to all of you is always remember, everything that you do builds and layers. Networking is about building relationships. You will not find a job just by talking to somebody in 1 minute. Hi, we're hiring. Oh, I need a job. Here's my resume. Great, you're hired. That makes no sense. So realize that it will take multiple points of contact. Think about the people in your life. Think about the people who you already trust, who trust you. How did you build those relationships? And take those principles and apply it now. Everything you need to know about finding a job, about marketing and branding yourself, the odds are you've done some of it already. And then you're coming to experts like me and Amanda to up your game.
Hey, Deena, we've only got a few more minutes, so we want to get some more of these questions. Sure. Jenna, could you hand me some more?
Sure.
Elham had a few great questions.
Okay, Elham.
He wanted to know about how you should follow up with the people you meet.
Okay, so how should you follow up? And how should you follow up with the people you meet? So I think there's two parts. It's not only how, but how soon after you meet them is it necessary? And I know you have some thoughts on, the quick LinkedIn versus a more thoughtful and kind of the rules that apply or don't apply to that.
Okay, so quick answers to following up. The LinkedIn connection, always put a note, great meeting you at XYZ event. I'd like to stay in touch. Don't just send a blank LinkedIn invitation. Email is more direct. You can put a little bit more into an email, but keep it concise. Sending somebody something that might be of interest. I met a woman, very high level marketing in an incredible company, and I sent her an invitation to this event. Even though she couldn't go to it, she was very appreciative that I forwarded the information, and I look like an expert, which I am, but I'm a resource to her. So sending somebody, it used to be send them an article, but it might be a cool blog article that you read, one of mine, one of Amanda's, and follow them. So if somebody that you want to meet is speaking at a conference, or they've written a blog post or a white paper, or they've been published or featured in the press, or they're speaking on TV, comment on that, promote it, follow them, go to the conference to meet them.
Yeah.
Really,
I would say for when we're talking about just strictly the follow-up and how soon, that sort of thing, is that the LinkedIn request is fairly soon, right? Day or two. You don't want to.
Even if it's a week, you know what?
Right?
Everyone's.
But then when you're going to follow up with a longer, lengthier, not that we're writing novels here, because again, marketing emails, nobody's reading novels, but you want to reach out because you have something to say. Yes, it's, even if it's thank you for sharing X, Y, and Z information, or it was such a pleasure to meet you, that sort of thing. But I love the idea of trying to find a way to pay it forward. What's the little value add? And so I think that's the best way, is always think of it as, yes, you want to. And the one thing I'll say is I always try in my email and in my LinkedIn connection request to refer to how I met them, so that because LinkedIn allows you to look back and see what your connection requests look like. So if 3 years from now you're running an advanced search on who's working at the company you're interested in, and you find that person works there, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how or why I know this person, you can always look back and see your note or run through your emails to say, oh, that's the context, so that when you reach out to them, you actually can also jog their memory.
But more importantly, it's staying in touch with people, getting in front of them. So LinkedIn is one tool, social media is one tool, but getting the phone calls, getting the meetings, you can do a Skype, a Zoom, a FaceTime, a Hangout, and building relationships over time. So set your goals. What kind of people do you need to meet? Where are you going to find them? What industries are you interested in? What is your approach and your strategy? What are you going to talk about? And how will you follow up? And then do that on a regular basis. It takes energy, it takes work, but the results are amazing. It's not one and done. It's long-term, strategic, and meaningful relationships, which lead to really hot opportunities.
And I think that's great, because if you find that you have kind of lost touch with somebody, you're trying to look for those opportunities, there are some times of year where it lends itself to that more than not. Sending a holiday greeting, even if it's an e-card with a little personalized message, use it as an opportunity to get back in touch, or, run a search on their name, do a Google News alert on their name or their company, just to see, has anything happened recently, and look for those updates, because there's a reason to reach out to congratulate them. LinkedIn lets you know when somebody gets a promotion or changes jobs. Like, use those tidbits as your openers. Jenna, I believe we have time for one more question.
If you aren't currently working, what should your business cards look like?
Okay. If you're not currently working, what should your business cards look like? So first of all, let's just make sure we're even on the same page. Do you believe that job seekers should have business cards, Deena?
100%. Okay. And your business card should be your brand, right?
Yep.
So, contact information, obviously, first name, last name at Gmail, your cell phone number, not your home address or your home phone. Your social media handles are useful. So for me, for example, at Fireball Deena, you can't miss me on social media. My brand covers everything. For you, if your brand might be intellectual property attorney, maybe you write a blog, put that on your business card, or it could say, mergers and acquisitions expert, corporate restructuring, and board positions. Like the 3 words or the 3 phrases or the 3 top roles that you have done or are looking for. So when someone sees your card, I'm holding up a Post-it, but look, this stands out, right? It's not just, here's my name and phone number. It's your, and I go back to what we said at the beginning, your brand is who you are, regardless of what job you're in. You can put your superpowers. And if you don't already know what superpowers are, contact me. Your superpowers are what you're great at, what you love to do, what people know you for. So make your card interesting so that when someone looks at it, they already have some sense of who you are and something to talk to you about.
Yeah. I think what I love is, if you're really struggling, think about what's the headline on your LinkedIn profile or the professional title at the top of your resume, because that's typically the one-liner that describes who you are and who you're positioning yourself as. So that's kind of the branding part, in lieu of a job title and a company name. And when you're thinking about what social media to include or not include, it's if I put it on my resume because it supports who I am as a professional, then it probably belongs on my business card. And if it's something I like, but it's not necessarily, built with the intention of promoting my brand, then it probably doesn't belong on there.
Exactly.
So kind of use that as your indicator, because again, just like a resume, just like an email for networking, you don't want to overcrowd it. You want to still make it pleasing to the eye. So you want to kind of balance those things. But business cards are also so cheap. I mean, you can get a good set for $25, or less. And so it is something that I also recommend.
Oh, can I add something?
You're going to be able to use them for every situation, but having them on hand is super valuable because you're not always going to memorize everybody or be able to log it in. Go ahead.
I'm pulling up my phone for a reason and this is one of the most common questions I get is what happens if I don't have business cards on me or if the other person doesn't have a card on me. Yeah. Now, I'm holding up my phone. I don't know if your audience can see it, but the first contact up there is me, okay? And this is really important. Make sure that you set up your V card with the information that you want, not your home address or your,
business card.
Diva212@yahoo.com. This has my cell phone number, my business account, my URL, and my picture, not a picture from high school or college, but the photo that is across all of or most of my branding. So make sure you set up a quick V card with the information you want, your social media handles, and you can just quickly share contact information with somebody because you know what? Here, and this I would love to leave everyone with this idea. It's not going to be perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. You may forget your business cards. You may think you said something wrong or you got a no or it didn't go, you felt not so confident in that situation. No one is ever going to remember exactly what you said. Yeah. Whatever your icebreaker is, they're not going to remember. They're going to remember that overall impression you make. So Go easy on yourselves. Don't beat yourself up. Just truly be yourself, the fabulous, wonderful, smart, talented person that you are, and just present that and look at it as a very organic, natural way to meet people. Yeah. It's networking. It's not brain surgery. You're not going to hurt someone or hurt yourself if you follow the golden rule, right? Network unto others as you would have them network unto you, and just be human and have fun. I love networking. I really hope that the rest of you can learn how to enjoy it and get results from it too.
Deena, thank you so much. I'm going to pull up real quick, so bear with me, guys, because it's going to get all crazy split screen for a moment. But I want to pull up Deena's site so you guys can see it. If anybody's interested in working with Deena or signing up for her blog or following her on social media or any of those things, you can check her out on her website at fireballnetwork.com. She has an entire section of her site dedicated to how to work a room. So if you'd still like more help on learning how to work a room with confidence, this is where you can go. Check it out. You can also sign up for her mailing list this way. Deena, thank you so much. I'm pulling us back. It's been wonderful, and thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom with everyone. Everyone out there, again, thank you so much for joining us for this month's edition of Office Hours presented by TopResume, the largest resume writing service in the world. If you've already received that resume critique from our site for free, don't forget to enter to win a free resume makeover. It's a contest that we're doing every month. So topresume.com/resume-makeover for your chance to get a free resume makeover. But hopefully you're going to be networking, you're going to have it out, and everything's going to work out. Definitely check out our sites for more information. And thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.